Dicky, hey, congratulations for your short film Angel.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, so it's being showcased at the Austin Film Festival this year. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean that's just a tremendous honor. I feel like I got the golden ticket as a filmmaker. The Austin Film Festival is a place that you really aspire to screen at, particularly as a writer director, because they've got this heavy focus on writing. They have a writers' conference, so the show there just sort of feels like a massive validation. And it'll be my first time in Austin. I mean, I've heard about the festival for almost a decade and sort of wished I could go. And so it's just really amazing to be able to go there and go there with a film. So yeah, really looking forward to it.
That is terrific. Now, I found your film absolutely thrilling. So I'm
Thank
curious,
you.
where what sparked this film?
So a couple of years ago, I'd been reading a couple of stories about digital assistants, and I forget particularly which maker it was, but there's one story that really caught my attention that I also thought was kind of funny, was that one of these devices had been subpoenaed in a murder case because they thought it might have been witness to a murder. And I mean, it's quite a funny image, and also, but also quite a thrilling idea. And then it just suddenly came to me. I had this image in my head of a young woman in the home of someone who she doesn't know very well, and this person leaves the room for a few minutes, and then suddenly this device says to her, "Get out right now. He's going to kill you," like he did with all the other women. And I just couldn't get that image out of my head. And then from there, it was about 6 months of trying to work out the story, the beginning and the ending. But yeah, that's how it all began.
I think that's a great story because you left the audiences guessing throughout. So tell us about this home assistant product that you actually had to create. The design. Is it your prop master or you came up with it?
So it was a collaboration between me and the production designer, and it was really, really difficult because obviously we couldn't use any existing devices. We'd get into enormous trouble and we wouldn't be able to show the film. But the other aspect of it was we didn't have any money either. So you've got to create something that looks plausibly, decent enough that someone actually buy it. It might exist, but you don't have the money to start going, bending metal and creating things like that. So it was a really long process that we just trying to find, first of all, the easiest way to execute it without spending too much money, because it's a short film. We haven't got much money to burn. And the other aspect was, how big should it be and what should it look like? And we're sort of very used to these devices being either spherical or tubular. And I kind of wanted to move away from the sort of designs that we see at the moment. And because it's the film sort of set a little bit further in the future. It's not quite right now, but it's not that far in the future. So give it a little bit of a different design. And the other aspect of it was to give it a presence within the scene. There was some talk about maybe never having a device and just having a voice, like in the movie Her, or even making it a very discreet device that you barely see, because that's another type of sort of horror. But in the end, I kind of wanted to go with something that was large enough so you could kind of frame it at the same time as the actors, give them a bit of interaction, and also a bit of design so that it would be something that someone wanted to display in their home after they'd purchased it. So it wouldn't just be the sort of disembodied voice. And then I forget what brand it was, but I was sort of, I spent months browsing through home decor website catalogs. And I thought, there's got to be a vase somewhere that has this sort of shape I'm looking for. And then I just came across something that just seemed right, and then kind of adapted it a little bit. And now we've got Angel.
That is terrific. Could you tell us about the voice behind Angel?
So the voice behind Angel was, okay, so a couple of things here. The first thing is that, one's first thought might be to have a robotic voice. But the truth is, these days, these voices no longer sound robotic. They sound really quite natural, and they will only get increasingly natural. So it's difficult as a filmmaker to sort of come up with a voice that you can sort of signal to the audience belongs to this device and isn't another human's voice. But I think, like I said, I think we're beyond, you know, a robotic voice. And the other part of it was I kind of needed to make sure that the atmosphere in the house when that woman walks in is just as creepy as possible and give enough things to kind of lead her thought and the audience thought in one direction. And, you know, anything I could do to help work that device. Well, one of the tricks was to say, okay, let's make the voice of a young girl, because that immediately makes us start asking all sorts of questions. Why has this guy picked that voice for this machine? And that kind of says something about him as well. It doesn't, you know, it might bring out some negative judgments. It maybe wasn't some poor aspect of his personality that led to that choice. And in the film, he says, well, that was the default setting for the device. So it's sort of very ambivalent as to what's really going on, but it was kind of more of a device to just help build up that atmosphere.
So did you have a human girl voicing the angel after all, or you went with something more synthetic?
So after much testing and umming and ahhing, I eventually found an incredibly talented voice actor in Taiwan. This woman she does lots of cartoons, and she can do any voice you ask her to. And then we just sat in the recording studio. We did a few different types, you know. There was one where, okay, you know, kind of be like a robot. Okay, bring it back a little bit. Now try to be a little girl. Okay, bring it back a little bit. And in the end, we went with a relatively standard voice for her. But the sort of direction was to ask her to play it flirtatiously rather than trying to act a certain age. And that seemed to bring out the right kind of tone and the sort of best interaction. And then in post, we tried all sorts of filters. Well, should we make it more distorted? But in the end, we went for like a really natural recording of the voice.
Most excellent. Now, obviously, one of the things when people watch this is the actors are what? At first I was guessing Chinese, but you said it was Taiwanese actors?
Taiwanese, yeah.
Could you talk about the, you know, utilizing, because I understand this is your second short film and your previous one also used Taiwanese actors.
Right. So, you know, well, first of all, Taiwan is a wonderful place, but using Taiwanese actors is more of a question of geography than anything else, simply because that's where I live at the moment. And I've been living there for almost 15 years. But the funny thing is this film, originally, because I can't seem to erase my rather cynical British point of view and my affection for dark comedy, I did actually think that this film wouldn't work very well in a Taiwanese setting because it's a bit too dark, a bit too cynical. So the intention originally actually was to shoot it all in English with British actors who I was going to fly over from the UK and we're going to film it in Taiwan. And this was in February 2020. And then suddenly we all know what happened next. And then no one could get on a plane and move around. So the whole thing got shelved for about 6 months. And then, you know, it looked like things weren't really going to change. And I thought, but I've got to make this anyway. So then I got the whole thing translated into Chinese and thought, okay, we're going to make this in Taiwan with Taiwanese actors. And that's how that came to be.
So you speak Taiwanese pretty well then? I'm assuming 15 years is, you probably got proficient with the language over there.
Yeah, so I speak pretty good Chinese. All of my work I was doing between Taiwan, China, and Japan. And so, yeah, when I'm not making short films, I'm shooting commercials. So like I'm always using Chinese on set.
Wow. Now, this is your second experience in the short film arena. How was that overall experience? And do you ever want to plan for a full-length movie of one of your ideas one of these days?
So, yes, I always would love to turn some of these into feature-length movies. But the tricky thing with short films is that, you know, again, like you never have enough money And it's a very existential question of how much money should you spend on a short film as well, because you're not going to make that money back either. So when one gets an idea for a short film, it's very tempting to think, well, this is going to be a proof of concept, and it's going to be really short, really cheap. I'm going to get the concept out there, and then hopefully someone will see it and think, what an awesome idea. Let's make that into a feature film. Go. But I always get hung up on this fact that if I was an audience member, I kind of really wouldn't want to see a proof of concept short film. I'd really like, I mean, okay, I'd love it if there's a great concept, but I want a complete film as well. I want a beginning, middle, and an end. I want to kind of come out of the theatre feeling satisfied with what I saw. And that's the bit that gives me the most trouble. You can come up with quite a few sort of good concepts for short films, but actually being able to turn them into complete stories that really go somewhere and do tell a decent story and also kind of affect the audience, that is incredibly difficult. And it's also why my output of short films is probably so low as well. It's been about 5 or 6 years since the previous short film. So those are the general trials and tribulations of short filmmaking.
Since you actually had to keep it on a limited budget, I'm curious, were those animal bone props you used, or did you actually create props for it?
So only the art director really knows where those bones came from. But he assures me that they formerly belonged to a pig. But I didn't ask too many questions.
Well, that's fine, because if that was reality, I couldn't tell what they were either. So I guess that's the nice twists and turns about this short film. Most excellent. Well, Dicky, let me leave you with one more thought. One of the things that I did actually find it was kind of hilarious was about two people that actually went on dates, but you tease a lot of serial killer jokes right off the bat. Right. This was all purposeful, just to set that mood, making us think, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I mean, absolutely. It's to try and misdirect as much as possible, and then also it's kind of a little bit about the sort of power game that's being played. I mean, I think this maybe ties back to my sort of aforementioned dark, cynical British side, where we quite often make rather cruel jokes about even some of our best friends and excuse it as banter. But also it was about that sort of power dynamic at the beginning of the film as well, where you got this guy he's already very shy and awkward around women, and this woman who thinks, come on, just be a man, you know. We all know where this date's going to go. Please do something. And he keeps behaving in a way that she just thinks is a bit silly. So she starts making fun out of him. And it gets out of control and escalates. But it escalates in kind of the wrong direction.
Most excellent. I think you did a terrific job. I was on the edge of my seat throughout the entire short film.
Fantastic.
I was hoping for more, but hopefully, down the road we get to do this again. Hopefully not 6 years though.
Yeah, I'll try. I'll do my best. Yeah, whittle down that time frame a little bit.
Excellent. Well, hey, have fun at Austin, and thank you for speaking to us about your short film, Angel.
Thank you so much for talking to me.
Hey, thank you.